additionally, we're talking to a couple of lawyers to help us out with these redevelopment agreements because they become quite complex and there's some creative financing in there that really I don't understand that I didn't find out what a skinny bond was till the other day, and there's all kind of stuff that goes on that to work to our advantage. So we're exploring that, and we will keep you guys updated as things go along. And that's all I have with that.
Awesome. All right, and as far as the, this was on the regular agenda, and I wanted to bring it to the public's, not, just bring it to the public and also bring it to the commissioners. We got a few calls on our floor about bamboo. And if anybody knows that bamboo is very invasive and very hard to get rid of. So we did some research on different cities in the area, Egg Harbor, and as well as Linden. And we reached out to Vineland to see if they have ordinances. And most of them do have ordinances. The biggest thing that we found out is it's really hard to enforce. So we just wanted to ask if there's anybody in the public and if they're watching to kind of, feel free to give us a feedback. It's very hard to get rid of. It's a nuisance. But
Rhizome paper.
You say fries?
Rhizome paper.
Rhizome paper.
It blocks through, bamboo spreads through its root system.
Mm-hmm.
You cut it down, it doesn't matter. It spreads like lilies of the valley. You have to block the root system physically, and rhizome paper is the way most gardeners do it, at least backyard gardeners. If you might be able to get it industrially, if cities purchasing it, you have a massive grow. And that might, because it's not cheap, but it's not inexpensive. It's not majorly expensive either.
Okay.
But it's the only way to stop it. It's the same thing you would do for raspberries, blackberries, anything that spreads via its root system.
Roots it around. Yeah.
Even an aspen tree, that's how you stop an aspen from spreading. And birches.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
So the main problem I see with it is a
Thank
way
you,
to
Greg.
enforce it, particularly with the existing stuff. So to me, if you pass an ordinance that you can't enforce, it kind of builds contempt for the ordinance and contempt for the officials and contempt for the people that are supposed to try to enforce it.
well, there was like a grandfathered in. If you had already had it, then you'd have to show the city how you're going to contain it, that it doesn't spread.
Okay, so say
But I understand where you're
popped
coming
up in
from.
my yard and I didn't plant it, it came from, I don't know, next door, and who knows who the hell planted it first?
Right. I don't have a green thumb, so I don't know, but I hear it's
I'm just very
We're
wary
leery of
to
it.
clear.
to
No,
make an ordinance
Well,
that you
now
can't
that the
enforce.
shade tree, even though this is more of a botanist, or shade tree chairman is here, we're talking about bamboo and the ordinance around it and how to, if it's there before, grandfathered in, what Vice Mayor Suey is just saying, of, if it just props up in my yard, how does that gets enforced and vice versa, does it?
basically, how do you tell the origin of where it was planted?
That's usually someone has to plant it. I mean, it can't be just thrown away, to an area. And one thing about bamboo, it will just stay there. It is awful.
Yeah, well, so we have a couple of residents that have called, and then so we just reached out to other local municipalities, and they do have it, but their issue is being able to enforce it. So we didn't want to pass an ordinance if we're not going to be able to enforce it, but we wanted to hear what the public had to say as far as if there's other issues they're concerned with, and see what their thoughts are.
It can actually undermine people's foundations. It can get into your concrete block and go through that and get into your basement and then cause leaking problems. It can really be a nuisance.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing. The only problem is, like I said,
I think
enforcing it is
I think the way the ordinance addresses that, I think there's a presumption that if it's on your property, that you're responsible for it being there. And I mean, you could still try to rebut the presumption and show that you didn't cause it, but
I wouldn't appreciate it if somebody else planted a grill on my property. Now you want me to spend $10,000 to get rid of something
But
that I didn't do, right?
it's
Because-
kind of like trash, and we've all had this experience, I'm sure, that you didn't put any trash on your property, but the wind is blowing, and suddenly you have trash all over your property, and under our code, it's your responsibility. You've got to clean it up,
A
whether you
little
put it
easier
there
to
or not.
remediate, though.
Yeah.
And like the vice mayor said, as far as writing an ordinance, and like the mayor said, probably really, I mean, I hate to say it, but this would be a situation between neighbors, really.
seems like it. I mean, I don't know, we can get some more input from the public, see what they say.
Yeah, I think that if anybody watching or anybody here that has, other input to bring it to us, we'd love to hear any other kind of, solutions that would be helpful. Cause it, like Greg said, it just spreads through the roots. So it could be in one property, but then if you all have, adjoining backyards, it could spread to everybody's and become a nuisance. So, I'm just gonna try to,
Most of the people I know that have bamboo, they've already took that initiative to put a border so it doesn't spread either with what he was talking about, the paper or the concrete goes down so far so it can't go any further. I mean, there's one home, for example, on 7th Street in Oak, and they've had it for 30-some years, and it hasn't gone anywhere throughout the rest of the yard because you have to take an initiative when you put that in to board it off and put a plate in there so it doesn't grow anywhere. And, I mean, that's no more what I could say. I don't think anybody really had that much of a problem, but if there is, I'd like to hear it.
to just, to your point, I agree. It's hard to enforce something that if you
Yeah,
planted
well,
it and then it's in my yard, well, I don't want to have to pay to get rid of it, but
Yeah, I mean, I
it's a
think-
big nuisance in my yard if it's now uprooting like my foundation.
Let's see what the public says, and
Yeah, I don't want to, we'll just see what they say. So if anybody has comments or anything, feel free to bring that to us. So that's all that I had for today for that. Any new business?
No, Mayor.
And we'll go to the public comment portion. If anybody has any comments or suggestions or questions, feel free to come to the podium. Seeing nobody, we'll close the public comment portion and we move on to resolutions.
Okay, we have a resolution authorizing a closed session meeting for the following matter: a potential sale of city-owned property in the James Hurley Industrial Park, specifically part of Block 136, Lot 1, as a part of a redevelopment project under pending contract negotiations and attorney-client privilege.
move the resolution.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion second to go into closed session, and we're just gonna go back and we have to vote for that.
All right,
No comment.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sui?
Yes.
Commissioner Romanek?
Yes.
Commissioner McQuaid?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Orndorff?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
And we'll be back.
Nuisance.